Hey, yeah, what's up? This is Disciple Martial Occurrence. Rain back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-telepathy all day, anti-America all day, anti-cop all day, and everybody with them, yeah. So, this video basically is going to be about sexual mistakes, even pedophilia, versus underage sex laws. Yeah, which one's worse? Childhood sexuality, even a whole sex history, and even pedophiles versus underage sex laws, which are laws that allows adults to have sex with children. Which one's worse? I'll put up anyone's sex history, most the average person. I put up their sex history. I put up even pedophilia against intentional laws that allow adults to be with people underage. This is sent through the government. This is sent by this is made by lawmakers who are over the police and over all these authorities. They basically are the lawmakers. They are the FBI enforce the laws that they make. The police enforce the laws that they make. These people are above, with that being said, those who enforce the laws. And yet, them being in that position, they decide to allow 40 states to have, 40 states allows, in those positions, they allow 40 states to have sex with children, adults to have sex with children in 40 states. In those positions, they allow adults to have sex with children in 40 states. Okay? I'll put up nobody's sex history is worse than that. No pedophilia in my opinion is worse than that. And see, you're not thinking about it that way. But it is worse. What's worse? Someone who, for whatever reason, let's just say children, they have sexual mistakes. They make mistakes as children. That even. How is that worse than someone who sits down and make laws for police to follow? Those type of people to sit down to set laws for police to enforce. They have laws that they've made. These same people that make laws for the police to enforce. These same people have put into action in Boston. A 12-year-old girl can marry a fully grown man. That's ridiculous. These people are above the law, literally, meaning they put the laws in action and the police enforce these laws. The police cannot do nothing about a man that went downtown to marry a 12-year-old girl. Ain't nothing the police could do. So lawmakers are above law enforcers. That's above the law, basically. You know what I mean. They're above the laws that are enforced because they make the laws. They create these laws that you abide by. That's above the law, pretty much. In other words, they are the highest authority when it comes to these laws. Pretty much, they're in the vicinity of them. And they decided to allow adults to have sex with children in 40 states. So what's worse? Somebody with a a rugged sex history, or somebody, or these lawmakers that allow 12 states to have no minimum age with marrying a person, meaning they can marry as low as 8 years old, 9 years old, 7 years old. There is no minimum age in 12 states in America right now, which is a quarter of the country. Folks, that's worse than a pedophile. Because first of all, a pedophile is limited. Most of them are limited to one, maybe, I guess 1 to 10, 1 to 20 people. Let's just say 1 to 20. Let's just do that because maybe they move around. I don't know. Let's just say 1 to 20 victims. These laws is these laws are county-wide, city-wide, statewide. What you think is doing more damage? A pedophile or a Massachusetts law that allow an adult to marry a 12-year-old girl? Now, we established in these other videos, if you see the 50-year-old looking at a 12-year-old, you would immediately call him a pedophile. But if he marries a 12-year-old in the state of Massachusetts, you don't call him a pedophile. 50-year-old, I know some of y'all slow, but listen, 50-year-old, that's who you would have a problem with looking at a 12-year-old, right? If they were in the store, you would have a problem with a 50-year-old man staring down a 12-year-old, right? You would, yes you would. I know how you Americans think. You're protective, but not protective. You call yourself protective, but you're ignorant of the laws. However, you would sit up and have a problem with this 50-year-old staring down this 12-year-old. Yet, meanwhile, right here in your country on American soil, Massachusetts allows a 50-year-old man to marry, which is worse than a stare down, marry a 12-year-old girl and be with her for life. But yet you don't want a 50-year-old man engaging a 12-year-old sexually. This is what I call a term I coined, legal confusion. This is legal confusion. Because if a man that's 50-year-old get caught playing around a 12-year-old, where do you think he's going? He's going straight to jail, then to prison. Say it again for the slow people. If a 50-year-old man does anything with a 12-year-old female, he's going straight to jail and then to prison. That's a fact that we all can agree on. 50-year-old does anything in our society with a 12-year-old, he's going to jail, period. That same day, if he's caught. Meanwhile, in Massachusetts, a 50-year-old, that same 50-year-old, don't have to do that. He can go marry a 12-year-old in Massachusetts. Right there in Boston. Right there in Boston with the Boston Red Sox. He can take her to a Boston Red Sox game once they get married. In fact, they could get, if he got enough money, he can propose to a 12-year-old and in the Red Sox stadium. A pervert can propose to a 12-year-old girl in a Boston Red Sox stadium. Because in Massachusetts, a fully grown adult can marry a 12-year-old girl. So he can go put the paperwork in. Well, no, first he can propose and no one can look at him strange while his face is up on the screen at the Red Sox in the Red Sox stadium, because anyone that is learned of the laws knows that it's okay for this man to propose to this 12-year-old girl. Even though he's balding on top and have no hair on top, he's down on one knee in front of a 12-year-old girl proposing. If I don't do these scenarios, folks, you as American are gonna not even think about it. I don't know, maybe you don't have the capability. So I'm doing it for you. In this campaign, I'm giving you all the vision, the visuals. I'm verbally giving you the visuals. That man can propose at a Red Sox stadium in Boston. And if he likes basketball, he can go to a Celtics game with that nice floor and propose to a 12-year-old right there while wearing a Bird jersey. While wearing a Larry Bird jersey, he can propose to a 12-year-old being 50 and balding on top when he take off the Boston Celtics fitted. Because there, the age of consent, as far as getting married, any age, an adult man can marry a 12-year-old girl. So he can take her to a Boston Celtics game. And if he's lucky, he might see Larry Bird there. Maybe D. Brown too, if he's still around. Maybe Robert Parrish, if he's still around. I'm just giving you the visuals, guys. Okay? Who you mad at, me or yourself? Who are you mad at? Me or your crazy system that you live under? Who are you mad at? Me or the people that's trying to incriminate people when a 50-year-old man can go propose in front of everybody at a Boston Celtics game to a 12-year-old girl in the Boston Celtics arena? Who you mad at? Mad at me? Okay. You mad at me, huh? I'm showing you. Because see, although you might not care, or you's lazy and slouchy kind of individuals, raunchy, you know the type. Depressed every other 3 weeks. We ain't talking about you. You depressed every 3 weeks, you can't even, come on, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to all these people that genuinely care about children, that genuinely care about hypocrisy in our community, the whistleblowers. That's who I'm talking to. I'm not talking to the crowd that's depressed every other 3 weeks. I'm sorry, I'm not talking to you. You don't even take showers. You take showers every other 3 or 4 days. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people that are functioning. If they're not functioning in society, they're functioning in their minds. They're functioning in their morality. They're functioning in their integrity. And those people that are functioning in their integrity in this country, you should know that 40 states allows adults to have sex with children, and a man can marry a 12-year-old girl right now in 2022, February 2nd, right here in America, in Boston, Massachusetts, or Massachusetts, the whole state. He can marry a 12-year-old girl, a 50-year-old man. Okay? While Donald Trump is raving, while Joe Biden is raving, meanwhile, this is the reality. While all your leaders are running around, smiling in front of these cameras, meanwhile, this is your reality. While all these people talking about they patriots, meanwhile, this is the reality. For all these military soldiers, how do you feel about, for every branch of the military, how do you feel about, in Massachusetts, a grown man, capable, physically able-bodied man, sound of mind, can go marry a 12-year-old girl, him being 50 years old. Legally, he can go, right now, in 2022, February 2nd, he can go legally marry a 12-year-old girl. How y'all feel about that? How you feel about serving a country like that? That's what I want to know. Hey guys, I'm not doing a Jedi mind trick. This is not a Jedi mind trick. Although the feeling of digesting this information might feel so, it's not. You can go Google it for yourself and see for yourself. There's 12, and on top of that, there's 12 states that, including Massachusetts, that allows no minimum age. No minimum age to get married, which means a 50-year-old man can marry as low as 7, 8, 9 years old. Right now, I know. It's unbelievable. I couldn't believe it either. Trust me, I couldn't believe it either. Just when I thought, I would say just when my opponents thought that my campaign was through, just when they thought it was through, right? Just when they thought my campaign was through with saying 40 states allows adults to have sex with children, just when they thought that was through, I turned the corner and got more information and found out that they have no minimum age in 12 states, which is a quarter of this country, that allows adults to marry with no minimum age, which means for any of them, any of these people, any of these ages that's trying to convict anybody or anything, they couldn't do it because they contradict themselves too sharply with allowing no minimum age for concerning children that a man can marry. A man or a woman, too. They could marry any age that comes to their perverted mind. 9, 8, 7. It says no minimum age, military. For all 4 branches of the military, it says no minimum age. No minimum age. They're very well able to specify if they want it to be 12. The boss in Massachusetts, they say 12. The age of consent has a certain number. We don't agree on a certain number. So everybody's specifying what they want to pass as law. These are laws, folk, which cannot compare to not the sex history of mine, the sex history of yours, all of our sex history combined, all of our sexual history combined cannot compare to lawmakers that have sat down and put into action adults having sex with, marrying 12-year-old girls right now in 2022. There's no mistakes or activity that can compare to lawmakers who go to the government and get it passed by the government. Nothing can compare to their activity, which covers entire states. That means everybody can do it. Me and your sexual history combined, what it covers, less than 50 people? 2 people, less than 50 people? Whole sexual history combined, I mean, especially from childhood on into early adulthood, 50 people between me and another person? So only 50 people are affected when you have statewide laws that allows men to, like in Massachusetts, to marry 12-year-old girls right now. We can't let these fraudulent dark patriots, that's what I call them, dark patriots, because they're not a patriot of truth or the values of America. They're trying to hide their truths. They're trying to hide their real laws in nature, and they're not patriots. They're dark patriots. They're people that break the Constitution also by investigating people. Meanwhile, being in the most severe state of hypocrisy ever, with having the lowest age of consent worldwide in world records at 7 years old, right here in America. They still have the world record. The world record. And yet they're witch hunting you and breaking your constitutional rights, which make them not American, because that's what binds us all. We all go through live different walks of life here in America. Some are poor, some are discriminated against. So we can't say, well, our experiences make us American, because our experience is different. So we can't do that, unfortunately. So the only thing that binds us is the constitutional rights that we have. And these people, these hypocrites, these dark patriots that want to protect America at all costs, they break the constitutional rights, the privacy of people who they investigate in hypocrisy, which means they're no longer American, because the thing that bonds us the most is the Constitution, and they're breaking those rights, which makes them non-American by not keeping the very laws and principles that make us American by nature. So if you break the Constitution by nature, you're not American. Because that's the only thing that we all are binded by and unified by. So these dark patriots that go around in full disgusting hypocrisy, not even knowing that they have the lowest age of consent for sex worldwide as far as records. Not even knowing that. I bet you half of them don't even know that. But yet you want to witch hunt people. But yet you want to see who the pedophile is. When you allow adults to marry 12-year-old girls in Boston, Massachusetts, the whole state, you trying to see who the pedophile is. Some would say you are the pedophiles by law. I mean, there's not no fully grown men that want to marry 12-year-old girls, guys. There's no men looking for no minimum age when they go to the law books, when they think about getting married. When they see all the things they require to get married, whether it be their IDs and birth certificates, I guarantee you, they're not cutting their eye to see if there's a no minimum age law that allows them to marry some little girl who they should be buying a video game for. Some little girl who they should be buying a little pair of sunglasses. Instead of buying a pair of sunglasses for this 12-year-old girl, he wants to marry this girl. And the lawmakers will allow him to. Okay? Because what we need to also realize, folks, these laws reflect the views of some community, not only the lawmakers. They're putting these things into action by the influence of someone. Because the latest laws that have been put into action, as far as the no minimum age law to get in 12 states, that those laws went into effect, however they may be, the less of the states, the more of the states, those 12 states went into effective law as of July 1st, 2019, guys. That's less than 3 years ago. So I'm trying to show you, this is relevant. These things are relevant. These are not something, oh, well, that's been like that for so long. I just told you. Someone went back to the drawing board and did not change it by making laws in 12 states effective at July 1st, 2019. They went that day, they had already seen all things as they were, did not decide to change it, decide to stabilize 12 states that allows no minimum age to marry, which means adults can marry any age, 7, 8, even 6 probably. And because they probably feel so shameful about it, they don't even put a minimum age. They say no minimum age. You could put 7, 6, but it's so much shame on the law itself and what they're trying to do in the process. See how they crafted it? They could have went ahead and put a reasonable common sense age, right? They didn't have to say no minimum age. They could have put a common sense age. Well, none of that is common sense, but even if it's below adult, but they could have put an age that is human, not an embryo, not an egg yolk. And I'm not vouching for that. But instead of doing that, they say no minimum age so that there is ghost as far as that, meaning they're not liable for what you pick. That's what it, see, you gotta be smart. They're not liable. They don't want to take the shame of it. They don't want to have anything to do with it. But in order for you to also do this, you have to marry, so which they feel like they're covering their hides as far as integrity. Because if you come to them or protest, they'll say, well, they're married. That's what they're going to say, which is like saying it's decent. That's how they're trying to make it decent. But in all actuality, we know that this is not even a union, because how can a man have a union with a 12-year-old girl? How can a man have a relational union, a compatible union that's based on more than one facet of than sexuality with a 12-year-old girl? You know any men that's compatible with a 12-year-old girl? You know any men that have any kind of real good conversation with a 12-year-old girl? Other than like a mother, a dad, and a child. You know, you got anybody out there that has a relationship? A man has a relationship with a 12-year-old girl, or a communication relationship, or communication that's other than father and daughter? Any men that is sitting down trying to pick the brain of a 12-year-old like he would a female that he's dating and courting? You know anybody that's trying to court a 12-year-old girl? You know anybody's interested in that? I'm going to tell you who's interested in that. Massachusetts allows 12-year-olds to get married to fully grown men. That should embarrass you. That should embarrass you all.